I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meow! It's Huples Cat. Hope you're all doing very well. I am doing okay. Wanted to talk today about masks, and I know if a lot of people out there don't believe masks do anything, or some people actually believe masks harm them, but they're just making stuff up and they're getting wrong sources of information. Masks do help in an airborne pandemic. It doesn't really take a scientist to tell you that, but scientists are telling you that. So the first thing is, what type of masks you get. Well, there's a lot of people out there buying masks that don't work, or at least don't work very well. And the CBC marketplace actually looked at, they went to the Eaton Centre downtown, and they bought a bunch of masks. So they got an aerosol scientist to test how effective they were in stopping airborne contaminants leaving the mouth via the mask and going into the air or around the mask.
Putting your masks to the test. Let's finally clear the air. What keeps you safe and what's clearly dangerous.
And they found out some things that I knew, and they found out some things that I didn't know. So I'm going to endeavour to click and copy and paste and put it in. There is a chance they may hit me with copyright, in which case you won't be seeing anything, you'll just be seeing some gaps in me talking. Hopefully you'll see the video. But first off, I just want to say, whatever mask you've got, you should wash your hands 30 seconds with alcohol, 20 seconds with soap and water before you put it on. When you put the mask on, you pre-bend it. There's metal at the top and sometimes there's metal at the bottom, but you want to look at the mask and make sure you're putting it the right way around. When you put it on, like the ear light type ones like this, when you put it on, really get it high on the nose and make sure it's sealed around the nose area. Okay? What you'll see a lot of times, people haven't put these on properly, and then they walk around, they talk, and they start to slip up, and you'll see politicians doing that. Once the mask is on, the way to remove it is not like this, but you wash your hands first before you touch the mask. You then wash your hands after you touch the mask. You don't want to get any virus onto the face. When you take the mask off, dispose of it or put it in recycling, avoiding touching the external and the internal surface, but specifically the external. What I'm seeing a lot of politicians doing, including Joe Biden, and I think Donald Trump on the rare occasion I've seen him take a mask off, is once they take it off, they put it in the hand like this, and then they go like this, and then they put it in the pocket. If there's virus on that mask, it's now all over your hand, it's all over your pocket, and it's not the way to do it. You can get little plastic Ziploc bags to put them in to reuse them. My workplace, which is a teaching hospital in Toronto, actually claims that you can put them in paper bags and do it that way. I'm not a big fan of paper bags for various reasons, but they are a lot greener than the plastic bags. But a plastic Ziploc bag will contain and prevent any risk of you or your clothing touching the external surface. When you take it out of the bag, having washed your hands first, when you put it back on, you will have to touch the top, but you touch it gently and not like this, okay? And do the same thing again, and then wash your hands. Once the mask isn't working, and how do you tell that? Well, if you wear glasses, and to be frank with you, if you don't wear glasses, you should. You can get glasses with plain lenses. They're actually a great idea. When I work in ICU or work in the hospital, at the end of the shift, and usually before the end of the shift, I have to take my glasses off and I have to clean them. Absolutely covered in goobs. And that goob is literally people's sputum, people's spit. And I drop out on the glass in my eyeball. So again, wash your hands, take them off. No breathing, no talking. Dispose of it, I'll put it in a plastic bag. Do not ever do this or like that. Yeah, I think the governments of the world, as far as I can tell, have done an absolutely lousy job. One at promoting masks because they said masks weren't necessary for the general public, which is absolute farce in an airborne pandemic, and they absolutely were essential for the public. But the other thing they then did was they haven't really bothered to tell people how to use a mask. And on top of that, as CBC Marketplace found out, Canada, 9 months into it, still has no standards for consumers from our federal government to buy the proper mask.
and all the athletes wear these. So 60% nylon, 30% polyester, 91% hemp, 100% cotton, 100% polyurethane. So many masks, so many types. They're everywhere. A mask vending machine. Now I have literally seen it all. And with so much out there, we want to know, do some masks work better than others? How do you think this would do?
Not sure.
9 months into the pandemic, we still have no standards for consumer face masks. That's why we're buying more than 20 different types.
So what did they find? Well, what they found was that what's important with the mask is not the number of layers, or particularly what it's made of. What's important with the mask is that when you look at it under an electron microscope, you don't see holes. If you see holes, the virus will pass through. The SARS-CoV-2 virus is around about 100 nanometers wide, which I can't remember what that is in microns, so I'm not going to guess. But the bottom line is it's very small. Too small to see, too small to filter. So you have to have basically a flat surface for it to catch on, or an open surface that has multiple layers so it gets stuck as on the way in. And that's one of the reasons I like to bake my masks at 170 Fahrenheit for an hour after leaving them for a week in the sunlight, rather than use ultraviolet light. Ultraviolet light may not be effective in killing virus inside the deep mask, and that virus may then dislodge and then be inhaled.
What's the deal with this?
If you look at that fabric, it has very, very large pores in it. Air can simply sail straight through it.
Turns out this mask is not very effective at filtering out those tiny particles. These bandanas don't do so great either.
In small amounts, this is maybe, as claimed by a person here, is actually a good thing, because it gives you a small dose and you become slightly immune for a while. That's a theoretical.
Do you, by wearing a mask, get enough of the virus in? You may have a mild infection, but you get some short-term immunity.
Monica Gandhi is an infectious disease expert at the University of California, San Francisco. She's on the forefront of this research.
Masks block a lot of the virus from getting in. So if by wearing a mask, you're more likely to get a less severe case, have a mild illness, not even have symptoms at all.
The hypothesis, masking leads to fewer deaths and more asymptomatic cases. But there's still lots of confusion out there.
The first thing that people ask me is, which mask should I wear? Should I do a surgical mask? Should I do a cloth mask? Should I do two? Should I do 3-ply? What should it be? And I genuinely don't know.
Guess. Nobody actually knows. What is true is that with large amounts of airborne virus on floors at my hospital with large numbers of COVID-positive patients, the nursing staff who are in close contact, giving bed baths, giving enemas, to people who are breathing out COVID virus, and remember we put surgical masks on the patients as well, and they are affected with a surgical mask and a face shield. I still think that's the minimum protection healthcare should be getting in those circumstances. I still think we should be going for the full N95. What they also found out was that 2 layers of cotton were superior to 3 layers of cotton. So when they looked at it, they figured out why.
100% cotton masks, though, were an interesting story. These 3-layer cotton masks didn't do so well, but these ones with only 2 layers did much better. What does Scott think is happening there? Well, when it comes to cotton, quality makes a big difference. The high thread count cotton masks we tested, 600 thread count and above, performed very well.
Higher thread count cotton, obviously when it's woven together, it has smaller and smaller and smaller pores. As air moves through, it needs to travel a circuitous pathway, and that's what's really responsible for trapping particles.
So there's more of a chance of those little coronavirus guys getting stuck on something like this, and even more of a chance if there's more than one layer of this.
Exactly.
Bottom line, look for masks with multiple layers, and the higher the thread count cotton, the better. But that can be tough to find out. It's probably not on the label, because manufacturers don't have to put it there.
Cotton, if you use cotton face masks, should be at least 2 layers, and it should be 600 thread count or higher. Anything under about 600 thread count, you can put 3 layers on. It's largely ineffective. And what they're looking for here is they're looking for how much virus is leaving the person and going into the air. And that's an important factor of why people want people to wear masks, is so we reduce the amount of virus in the air. So anybody exposed by ill-fitting masks or anything else isn't going to inhale large amounts of virus and then get infected and then blow it out and give it to other people. So that's why universal mask wearing is becoming a thing. So it's hard to get the actual cotton thread count written on the mask, and you might think the more expensive the mask, the higher the thread count. That may be generally true. What I would do if you were going to use a cotton mask is I would actually buy 700 or 680 thread cotton and make your own. Put 2 layers on. Put 3 layers on if you need to, but you don't need to according to this study. You just need the 2 layers. And of course the important thing is that it fits the nose. So you can put a piece of plastic in or a piece of metal in between the 2 layers, just stitch it in or glue it in, and then you can press it and get the seal, because that's what's important. There's quite a few videos online about how to stop your glasses fogging up. Basically any videos that's telling you to put stuff on the lenses is incorrect. If your glasses are fogging up, it's because virus and air is going up like this. So you need to correct it here, not here. Okay, so that's the other thing I would say. One of the things that I did get was I got a few neck warmers early on, because I anticipated this would go on for a year or so. And I was thinking they would be better than nothing when I go shopping. It turns out that the thin bandanas and the thin neck ones don't work very well. In fact, they're fairly useless.
First up, this single-layer polyester gator mask.
What was the deal with this?
If you look at that fabric, it has very, very large pores in it. Air can simply sail straight through it.
Bandanas don't do so great either.
In all of the studies they did of all the masks they bought, the hospital, medical, surgical mask, remember if you get one of these you want a surgical mask written on the box, and preferably from a reputable salesperson. Again, there's no real standards for the public.
Disposable surgical type masks with non-woven polypropylene.
You can see no holes at all in that.
It's like a wall.
That fabric pulls out lots and lots of particles, far more than the other fabrics that we looked at.
And get this, a 3-layer mask with non-woven polypropylene between 2 layers of cotton works as well as the gold standard, a medical N95. And it's way more comfortable.
That is remarkable.
Medical masks probably will not be as effective as a surgical mask, and a mask that's neither medical or surgical mask is probably a waste of money. It's probably just a piece of paper. And on that topic, I'd like to bring up the fact as well, a lot of people are going out there and now trying to buy N95s. Now it's dawning and we're in a pandemic and there's a second wave coming. And a lot of the masks that you're buying are recycled from hospitals. They took out of bins and they're cleaned up, and the ones that aren't obviously damaged, they often replace the ties and then they're repackaged in poorer parts of the world and then sold to people over here, because people are paying a lot of money for a decent mask. So be careful what you're buying, be careful why you're buying it, and be careful who you're buying it from. So hopefully most of that video is actually going to be okay and I won't have to cut it, but if not, I will link it in the description so you can watch it. It's one of those cheerful millennial type videos, but it's actually got some interesting parts to it, and I will also use some freeze frame from that as well, so you can actually see about what they're on about in terms of the weave, what's a good weave and a bad weave, and I'll do that as a section now with my description on it, again in case I lose the marketplace video. And to talk us out now, the great Nancy Pelosi, who is again the Speaker of the House, is actually talking about people wearing masks in Washington DC. Now they made it mandatory to wear masks in the halls of Congress on July 29th. The 29th of July to mandatory mask wearing in the Congress was probably about 4 months too late. And now they're in November and they're telling people again, you have to wear a mask when you're in our corridors walking around talking to people.
Second, the chair wishes to remind members that the announcement of July 29, 2020, regarding the wearing of masks in the hall of the House remains in effect. Members and staff will not be permitted to enter the hall of the House without wearing a mask. Masks will be available at the entry point for any member who forgets to bring one. To reiterate, the chair views the failure to wear a mask as a serious breach of decorum. I repeat, members and staff will not be permitted to enter the hall of the House without wearing a mask. The chair appreciates the attention of all members and staff to these principles. The chair will entertain up to 15 requests.
It's basic science. It's an airborne pandemic. People breathe in other people's viruses, get infected, and breathe them out. If everybody's wearing a mask, there's almost no air transfer. If there's no air transfer, other people can't suck in the virus and become infected. It isn't. It is rocket science for people to understand that, apparently. I don't know why. I don't know why people think these masks are dangerous. I don't know why these people think they can't wear them because they have asthma. There's a whole bunch of nonsense out there. The bottom line is, if you care about your own health and you care about the health of your family, have a serious think about why you don't want to wear a mask. Where did you get the information from? Why do you think it's suspect to wear a mask? Because there is no empirical scientific evidence at all that says that not wearing a mask is better than wearing a mask in an airborne pandemic, and specifically in this one. And there's a raft of information out there that proves to me that it's extremely dangerous and foolhardy not to wear a mask around people. And I would also point out to you that when you are walking around stores, don't do it when it's crowded. Don't do it very often. Do it intentionally. Wear the best mask you have going in and out, and wash your hands and all that stuff. But be wary of the fact that if you're not wearing a mask when you're walking around a store, if somebody's coughed and sneezed 10 to 15 minutes before you actually walk down that aisle, you can breathe it in. And about a third to a quarter of all the people that die from COVID-19, and there's a lot of people dying from it, are under the age of 50 and are fit. I'm not saying that as a scare story. Kitty has to nurse them. We know what's going on. Sure, there's a few who are really old. Quite a lot are old. Quite a lot in their early 70s who are actually fit and well. Quite a lot in their 60s who are fit and well. Quite a lot in their 50s who aren't so well. Quite a lot in their 50s who actually are well. People like me. I got a bit of hypertension and I'm a bit fat. I don't want to die from COVID-19. And nor should you want to. It isn't just killing people in nursing homes. It isn't. And I think people need to wise up. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you've got any comments or thoughts on this, let me know below. I really don't want links to videos proving to me that mask wearing is ineffective. If you want to leave me a link to surgical or medical scientific literature that's actually published in peer-reviewed journals that proves that I'm wrong, feel free to leave it below. Otherwise you're just making stuff up and you're believing stuff that other people have made up, where in fact you're not actually believing truth. So if you feel like giving me a subscription, feel free, it's always appreciated, but I'd rather you actually watch the video, and I'd rather you actually comment, and I'd rather you actually stay safe and have a great day. Toodles.
We know the coronavirus can be as small as 100 nanometers, about 1/1000th the width of a human hair.